After 200 years of her defeat, Lufas Mafahl, the Tyrant of the Black Wings, returns. But the game is no longer a game, it is the real world of Exgate. She must reclaim her lost power and face the consequences her death unleashed. Will she rise again, or be crushed by the vengeance of the past? The story begins amidst utter chaos on a battlefield littered with fallen bodies. We are introduced to Lufas Mafahl, who is about to be defeated by a group of people. However, she responds that it will be their end. Grabs one by the face and smashes his face against several rocks, smashing his head against the mountain. An enemy fires with a bow and arrow, but she manages to block it. Suddenly, a wolf appears before her and strikes. But Lufas easily blocks it and counterattacks with an impressive flurry of attacks, knocking the animal away. Even after defeating several opponents, others continue to appear. She takes a blow to the face and is thrown away, but quickly reverses the situation, throwing the man against the rocks. Then several weapons appear behind her and are fired at her, but Lufas manages to dodge them. Another hero appears behind her and hits her with a punch, but she realizes it's just water, the result of the protection of a wizard assisting his companions as she receives the attack. She pierces the man's chest, but he claims he's not finished yet. She is surprised to realize he has a climax ability. As she tries to pull her arm from the enemy's body, he grabs her, and along with his allies manages to pin her to the ground. Lufas, however, begins to laugh at the situation. After being defeated, she admits that perhaps they are all capable of defeating the Demon Lord. The scene then cuts to a young man at the computer, realizing that his Lufa resisted until the end. On the forum, players praise the game highly. Suddenly, the goddess of creation, Aloveness, appears. The young man recognizes that she is the goddess responsible for creating the world of Exgate, and wonders if this is an official message from the company. At this point, Lufas is already as important a boss as the Demon King himself. The boy had reached a level impossible for even the developer to ignore. Unable to understand what his role would be, he decides to accept. Upon waking, confused, he notices several people in front of him and believes he's being pranked. Looking down, he notices he's transformed into the character from his favorite game with a body full of delicate feminine features. He always thought that if he were a girl, he'd want to be beautiful, which is why he created his character that way. Now he wonders if he's dreaming or if he's actually entered the game. When he tries to speak to others, simply raising his voice causes them all to fall to the ground due to the crushing pressure of his racial ability. Pressure tries to control this intimidation, but even after some time, people still suffer its effects. Finally, he manages to defuse the situation. Although the tension remains, those present begin to fear her. But Hufflepuff simply wants to understand how she ended up there. An elf, however, faints before her. He soon discovers that 200 years have passed since she was sealed. The Demon King still lives, and to defeat him they tried to summon a hero through the hitch, but it was she who emerged. The boy then realizes he's actually inside the game, now playing a girl. Despite his surprise, he feels joy at being able to live in the world he loved so much. However, he understands that the priority isn't acting like a fan, but deciding what to do in this new reality. Seeing everyone in shock, he decides to leave immediately. She explains that she has no intention of interfering in the world. Despite her defeat, the battle brought her satisfaction. She is no longer Hufflepuff the Conqueror, but a young woman whose hopes have been dashed. When asked where she would go, she replies only that she wants to see the current world and appreciate its form. She asks them to forget about her and suggests they perform another hero summoning. As she takes flight, she marvels at the sensation of wearing real wings and contemplates the world of Exgate online from a new perspective. For any gamer, there is nothing more fun than exploring their favorite game as their own creation. As he advances, he spots something gigantic and realizes it still exists. You now know where to go first. It is then explained that line hookups set in the world of Misgar, a medieval fantasy online RPG. Its biggest draw is the war system, a PPV in which players represent nations, and the victors conquer the defeated. Another major highlight is the narrative, which adapts the player's actions to the game's official story. He had transformed Loa into the strongest character. He leveled up, acquired items, and remained the best player. For the first time in history, he managed to unify Misgar, which was widely celebrated in the narrative, making Lufas a semi-official character. However, a game with only one powerful ruler would end up being boring. So he and other Hyrule players divided their forces between the Conqueror's army, Lufas, and the Light's army made up of heroes. They then organized the greatest battle ever recorded, bypassing even the official final boss. In the end, Lufas was defeated and sealed in subspace. Now, back in the world, she contemplates her base, the Mafahl Tower of Heaven. Upon entering, she realizes it's not as well preserved as she imagined, but its essence remains. She feels nostalgic as she remembers when her friends would gather there to talk, drink, and have fun. Suddenly, Dana appears, a girl who has waited 200 years for Elle's return. When questioned, she introduces herself as the advisor. The player remembers creating her as a simple scenario NPC tasked with being Luf's advisor, and is shocked to realize she has gained consciousness and waited all this time. Elle apologizes for forgetting her and promises not to repeat the mistake. She explains that she was summoned by humans, and Dana imagines they must have been shocked. She then reveals that to the west lies the nation of Levitane, which had prepared to summon a hero. Lufas asks for more details about what happened after her departure. She discovers that the heroes who defeated her became known as the 7 heroes, each founding their own nation. Of the 7, 4 have already died of old age, leaving only 3 remaining belonging to long-lived races. She asks if they would also be players, but Denna explains that the Demon King is still alive and has defeated the 7 heroes. U-12 stars still exist. Officially, Kala 12 Celestial Stars of Conquest were extremely rare monsters that Lufas managed to recruit, granting the 12 most powerful this prestigious title. At the time, I thought an important leader should have something like the classic 4 generals. I'd like to know how they are doing. The girl knows the whereabouts of 6. Of these, 2 joined the Demon King's army to seek revenge against the humans who defeated her. Lufas knows her choice led everything to this, but she considers it quite a regrettable decision. They must be given a strong warning. Hufflepuff finds all this quite amusing and needs to see the current state of the world for himself. He also needs to verify whether the 3 heroes are players like himself. So Hufflepuff decides to set out on a journey to gather the 12 stars. Stopping those acting foolishly is his responsibility. Dana locates and informs them that the closest one to them is Spell. One of the 7 heroes is also located there. Ares has tried several times to invade Spell and continues to do so to this day. Hufflepuff already knows where he should go, but the girl asks him to wait a bit as they don't have a penny. Hufflepuff decides to go anyway, but she insists he not do it carelessly as many people know his face. So Hufflepuff dons a hood so he can walk around town but still attract attention. Looking inside the guild, they both stare, and Luff remembers when he founded that nation. Looking at the quests, Denna suggests looking for cats, but Lufas refuses as he's not good at that kind of task. Just ahead, he notices the presence of orcs. It's explained that when defeated, these creatures have a 3% chance of dropping an item that increases maximum HP. Upon entering the forest, Lufas notices a group of orcs standing right at the entrance. She creates a sword and destroys them with ease. However, she is surrounded by several orcs, but she still eliminates them all effortlessly, cutting off their heads as if they were nothing. The orc leader becomes enraged and launches several blows, but Lufas dodges them all and appears before him. Simply by touching the monster, she manages to destroy its head, leaving Dina in shock. This concludes today's episode of this anime. Wait for us in the upcoming episodes. If you liked the video, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell to receive all that is new. The episode of this anime begins with Lady Lufas and her assistant Dina as they are collecting the meat of some monsters. Dina says that luck was on their side with these orcs. Lady Lufas didn't understand her, so Dina explained that the meat is very tough, and if it remains undamaged when the orcs are killed, their vitality stays in it, and eating this meat enhances her vitality. Lufas then understands that she is referring to the enhancement item that raises the maximum limit of hit points. Dina continues, saying that orcs fight constantly, so the chance of getting undamaged meat is no more than 3%. This explains the drop rate in the game. Lufas decides that they must eliminate them without damaging their meat. Dina tells her she will cook the meat later to make it edible, and then she proceeds to hide the orcs' corpses using teleportation magic. She explains that she will transport all the bodies to the tower and later turn them into jerky. Lufas is very pleased with her, calling her a very talented advisor. Afterward, they head out to free the village women the orcs had held captive. They go to Sviel, the location where the kidnapped women are being held. When Dina enters to check on them, she finds that all the girls are safe. She rushes to Lufas to tell her, saying they only look tired, but none of the orcs had harmed any of them. In fact, they appear to have been treated with great care. Lufas replies that this is quite natural, as those orcs actually behave with nobility. Dina is surprised by this, as their faces resemble pigs. Lufas informs her that it was mentioned in the game that they always treat women kindly, trying not to ruin their mood to win their affection, and it seems this is still true in this world as well. However, they are still terrifying from the perspective of those they kidnapped, so ultimately humans and orcs can never coexist peacefully. She then strikes the ground with an extremely powerful blow, astonishing everyone with her strength, and destroys the location. Next, Dina asks Lady Lufas to erase the memories of those people as well. Lufas is not convinced by her suggestion. Dina explains that they must erase their memories of being kidnapped by those pigs, so they won't remember anything. If she wished, it would even be possible to implant false memories and personalities. Lufas is troubled by her words and asks her not to say such things so casually. She then asks if this manipulation can be undone. Dina replies that it is rarely reversed, and if it is, it only happens when the right opportunity arises. Lufas tells her to stop at this point, as there is no need to go to such extremes this time. They agree to return to the village. Later, they are seen sitting on the back of a large monster to return to the village. Lufas says that defeating the orcs was a very easy task, so why doesn't anyone take care of it? Dina replies that it's due to a lack of incentive, although the orcs themselves are an incentive because of the possibility of getting that specific enhancement item. Dina then asks Lufas to listen and tells her that compared to the year 2000, the training standards have declined. Lufas doesn't understand her. Dina suggests they take the country that summoned her as an example, mentioning its name, Leviathan or the Sword Kingdom, but she doesn't know what level it has reached. Lufas replies that if it's the strongest, it must be at a similar level to them. Dina proposes level 120. Lufas tells her this level is very low, as many adventurers reached level 1000 in this game. Dina explains that the era she was a part of was out of the ordinary. Just think about it. People only have one life, and there aren't many monsters capable of reaching level 1000 without losing their lives. Furthermore, to reach that peak, one must fight relentlessly, day after day, and dedicate every waking hour to training without any rest to achieve it. This is the pinnacle of madness, and that era was crowded with competing heroes who achieved it. Lufas realizes this world is completely different from the world she knows. People only have one life. Afterward, they return the women to their village, and the mayor rewards them with the promised money. Everyone thanks them for what they did. They also leave them the large monster to protect them should the orcs return, asking them not to hesitate to use it as a guardian for their village. The mayor thanks them profusely for everything. Lufas and Dina say their goodbyes and leave. The next morning, as Lufas and Dina ride their carriage towards Seville, Dina speaks, saying they have earned enough money and should treat themselves to something to sustain them for a while, as this is the start of their real journey. Lufas thinks to herself that she must stop one of the 12 celestial stars named Ares the Ram, who has been repeatedly invading Seville. She also needs to confirm whether there are other players. If there are, they are most likely among the 3 survivors of the 7 heroes who oppose her. She will start with Megrez. Lufas then senses many lights in the forest and asks Dina about it. Dina tells her that this land is rich in mana, which is a sign of their nearing Seville. She can see it now from a distance and is very excited to reach it. They arrive at Seville and stand at its gate. The security asks them for an entry permit. Dina gives them their permits. When the guards look at them, they find she is a free merchant, not affiliated with any country. They enter the state. As they tour the city, Dina talks about the state, saying it was founded by one of the 7 heroes, Alf, known as the Wise Queen, Megrez. This state is characterized by an exceptional wealth of mana, which it has utilized in schools of magic and the acquisition of knowledge. For this reason, aspirants to become mages and scholars come to it from all over the world. Later, they arrive at the lake. When Lufas sees it, she knows the source of the mana is this lake. Dina asks her if it's true that the Heavenly Wing do not like mana. Lufas replies that she hasn't encountered any problems. They don't know the opinion of other heavenly winged beings, but they find the situation new and enjoyable. Dina changes the subject and moves to their itinerary. Lufas informs her that they will go to see Megrez because they want to ask him many things. Dina understands that she plans to storm the castle. Lufas denies this, telling her they will handle the matter peacefully. Ares is already causing him trouble, so they don't want to create any unnecessary additional commotion. She then reminds Dina that she told her this is the state of knowledge, so they must look for a library. They only know a little about the 200-year history they missed, so they would like to review that history first. There must be books in the library that recorded it in detail. When the guard realizes they are asking for a library, he deduces that this is their first visit to Seville. He tells them the libraries are in the Eastern District and walks with them to guide the way, introducing himself as Gantz, a mercenary guarding the borders. Dina introduces herself as a free merchant and jokingly calls Lufas, the suspicious one under the red cloak, her boss. Lufas hits her for the comment. Gantz tells Lufas, "You are wearing unusual clothing, you must have your reasons, so I won't pry," to which Lufas thanks him. They walk through the city and are impressed. Dina says the state is beautiful and vibrant. Gantz informs them that since Ares, one of the 12 celestial stars, has been attacking for several years, not many people choose to settle here anymore. He reassures them, "Don't worry, the lake surrounding this state is a water golem created by King Megrez through alchemy. We'll be fine even if Ares attacks. This state has its guardian." Lufas uses her power to identify the protective guard Livia, noting to herself that regardless of its level, its HP, hit points, are superhuman, a testament to the brilliance of the wise King Megrez. Gantz tells them they can reach the Eastern District quickly by taking the monorail. They thank him for his help and express their hope to meet again if the opportunity arises. After he leaves, Lufas comments that Gantz is a cheerful man, noting that his level 82 is low, but powerful for a human in this current era. As they travel, Lufas says there were no monorails in the game, but they are probably magic-powered. She ponders the history, the origins of Megrez's state, and the 7 races from the appearance of the demon folk to the present day. She decides to ignore that part, assuming it's not too different from the game's lore. Her main concern is finding out what happened during the 200 years since the 7 heroes defeated her, the Black-Winged Tyrant, and ended her rule. She gives Dina a stack of books pointing out titles like The Glory and Folly of the 7 Heroes and Kill the 7 Heroes, Humanity's Greatest Folly. She notes that a state founded by Megrez allowing books that heavily criticize the 7 heroes could easily be considered treason. She had assumed they would be treated as the villainous who invaded this land. Dina tells her she isn't quite that hated. While some books describe her negatively, people's fear has faded over time. Now, many think the world would not be living in fear of the demon folk if it had remained under her rule. Their opinion of her has changed for the better, partly because she never established a despotic government, making her rule far better than the current kings. Lufas is delighted, saying, "This world is different from the game." They begin reading. Lufas states that she, the Heavenly Winged, suddenly appeared 200 years ago and unified the world in the blink of an eye. The reason for her conquest remains a mystery. However, she did not rule as a tyrant. On the contrary, she overthrew tyrants and saved the people of those countries multiple times. Nevertheless, humanity eventually rejected her rule and sought liberation. The irony is that this only delighted the demon folk who feared the overwhelming power of the great Blackwing Tyrant and her 12 celestial stars and waited for their chance. With their greatest threat gone, the demon folk seized the opportunity and launched their attack. The 7 heroes and other adventurers rose to face them, but their efforts ended in defeat. Now, the safe zones where humanity can live are gradually shrinking. It's no surprise that the world could collapse any day. Lufas concludes, I knew the Demon King was alive and well and that humanity was in such distress they were summoning heroes, but this is the first time I've heard that the human homeland has shrunk this much. Dina agrees, saying, the small size of this land made me a little suspicious to be called a state, but I didn't expect the situation to be this bad. Lufas tells her, I only played the game for fun, but this world is in a dangerous and tragic situation. Suddenly, an earthquake occurs. Dina is terrified, but Lufas is unfazed, being used to such things. Gans calls out to check if the people are safe, and they are. Then, a man warns them, saying, all prepared mercenaries must take up arms and gather at the borders immediately. Lufas tells Dina that this is a skill used to intentionally cause earthquakes and that it belongs to Ares. He is coming. Dina agrees, feeling a mana disturbance. Let's take the monorail and head there right away. Lufas tells her that's too slow and they will take a different route. She uses her power, summoning a large winged creature, and they mount it. Lufas reassures Dina, telling her not to worry and that she will hold on to her if she feels anxious. As they fly away, Lufas wonders about something. Ares, the rainbow sheep, is a peaceful monster who hates conflict and prefers peace. She doesn't understand why he is constantly attacking since they were defeated by the heroes, and she doesn't know the reason. Lufas has a sudden flashback but dismisses it, saying, these aren't my memories. The episode ends by showing many monsters preparing to attack, led by the rainbow sheep.